Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I am a Twin Soul channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video, I was about to say a movie. This is a video about the new moon in Aquarius happening on February 11th, 2021 at 2:05 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, if you are not, please check a time zone for your local time. Uh, this is it, people. This is the big new beginning we have all been waiting for. Such an exciting moment. I've had this date marked on my calendar for about 4 or 5 months now, and we are finally here. At this moment, we have new moon in Aquarius, and that new moon is sitting alongside Pallas Athena, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn all sitting in the same sign. Wow, that is a lot of energy flowing through Aquarius. And I also want to highlight how rare this is to have this much energy sitting in one sign at a time. Likewise, I'll also share that the last time we had this much energy in the sign of Aquarius itself was in the 1960s. It was 1962. And we all know what the 60s were like. You don't have to Google a whole lot to get the gist of how much change and transformation occurred during those years and how much change. You don't have to Google a whole lot now to see how much change we're in the midst of now. And that's kind of the gist of Aquarian energy. It's about change, transformation. It's about revolution and quantum leaps forward, not those kind of step by step leaps forward or step by step moves forward. This is about skipping steps and popping into a completely new reality with new ideas, new technology, new opportunities, new insight, just new. Also, things that seem unusual can really occur with Aquarian energy as well. What's unusual, unheard of, unique, different, that's Aquarian energy as well. Expect that this is going to be the beginning point when you look back at this moment in time in your own life. This particular moment, you'll be able to look back on and see, wow, yeah, everything really did change at the beginning of 2021. This is pretty much a new year type of energy. You know, we had our technical new year on the Gregorian calendar on January 1st. However, we were really still carrying a lot of the energetic baggage of 2020 with us. And we had a spark of some of that new energy at the solstice, but now we're really feeling it with this Aquarian stellium. This Aquarian stellium hosts a Mercury retrograde, which is interesting. We're going to talk about that in a moment. We also have this squaring energy here from the sign of Taurus. And Taurus hosts the ruling planetary energy of Aquarius. That ruling planetary energy is Uranus. With Uranus, which is also about technology, divine insight, the capacity to break through and holding electric energy. This Uranus is typically very prominent in the charts of people who are considered genius level creatives and inventors. The Uranian energy making a definitive aspect over here to Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn is providing real out of the blue, almost out of nowhere changes and transformations to ourselves, how we value ourselves, money and finance. This is what Taurus represents, money and finance. It also represents beauty. So You may find that you're all of a sudden ready to cut off all your hair or dye it all blue. I don't recommend that at this time. Give it a few weeks, wait for Mercury to go direct and Venus to get out of Aquarius. But the urge to just break out and do something completely different, get a new tattoo, all of that kind of stuff can really come through Uranus squaring Venus. And it's interesting because Venus here and Uranus, they're in what we call mutual reception. So the ruler of one sign is, and the ruler of the other sign, they're sitting in each other's sign. So Taurus is ruled by Venus, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and the two of those are sitting in square to one another in each other's sign. So there's this energy here of really wanting to change the energy around us in some way. Taurus also represents nurturing. Many of you may be finding that at this time you're preparing to move home, or you're just getting a house sold, or you're preparing to sell your house. In addition, you may be finding you're ready to start a new diet, start some new healthcare regime or healthcare practice with this energy. All of it could go extremely well if you just give it time. If you're doing things that are healthy for you, I would wait on beauty stuff, changes to your physical body. You may not really like the results. Wait till Venus and Mercury get out of Aquarius in a few weeks' time and then go about it. But yeah, the urge to do it, setting up the appointment, researching it, that kind of thing. Now is a great time. You might find someone who could really do great work for you. Okay. The other energy that's important to make note of is that Uranus isn't sitting alone. Uranus is having a conversation here with Lilith, and Lilith can be a very uncompromising energy. She really wants things kind of her way, and if they can't go her way, she's out of there. She's not interested in hanging out to see what we could mutually create or explore. Compromise is not in her vocabulary. Neither really is collaboration. Um, Lilithian energy can also hold a strong rejection component to it. And with Lilith talking to Mars and Lilith talking to Uranus, Mars being about our motivation, ambition, drive, passions, it's an outward projecting energy. The three of those together inside Taurus is making it a little hard to let me put the best way I can put it is it can make us all unusually centered in ourselves, or the other way to put it is just straight up self-centered. It's like I can only see my way and what I want, and I'm not interested in anything you have to say about that. So you can find that people around you can be a little pushy at this time, testing your boundaries, wanting to see how much they can get away with or how much they can take. You may also find yourself in a place where you are really feeling particularly pedantic about and unflappable about getting what you want and only what you want. And it's important to remember, especially when there are other people involved, that there are other boundaries involved and other people's needs involved. And you can't just kind of run roughshod over other people's toes. But to the degree that you are able to use this energy to manifest things that don't have anything to do with other people, it's a beautiful manifestation energy. As long as you're not trying to, override somebody else's free will with your desires for what they do. That being said, that brings us to the area of love and relationships, because they are heavily amplified at this new moon, which is exciting. We have Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury all sitting together. Typically, Jupiter and Venus sitting together is enough to make a beautiful kind of love connection, or harmonious, romantic energy. Saturn being a part of the mix just adds stability to it. It's something that can last if begun under some of this energy here. And then on top of that, we have a sextile from the partnership asteroid speaking to all of this energy here. And this just really screams new romance, new relationship, new partnerships unfolding at this time. You may find that you're making new alliances in business, signing new agreements and new partnerships. Wait till Mercury retrograde is done to do that, or at least having those conversations at this time. Great. Um, but then likewise, there's there's something here specifically about romance and partnership and new love offers, new love beginnings that this energy is really ripe for. So, the flirtations that come in right now, the new people you're meeting right now, if you're looking for love and relationship, I got to say, this is some of the best energy we've had for new love and relationship in over a year, well over a year. We haven't had this kind of harmonious love energy for some time. And I love seeing this. It's such a gift, because we need that. We all need love. We all need, partnership and support and collaboration partners as well. Just to make sure that the way this Uranian energy is playing out here is playing out in a way where you are taking care of yourself, and your needs and being authentic about what they are without trying to make another person responsible for what you need. If you need something, it's okay to have your needs, but it's important to not try to get other people to fill in your needs for us, or fill in our needs for us. So, but cool if you're now coming to terms with, oh, I have this need, and this need. Great, get them met, do it. And this will be, I'd be shocked if, what's the best way for me to put this? There's just such beautiful energy here. And because Aquarius really rules surprise, many of you may find this love energy just kind of comes out of nowhere and hits you. Where it's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this, but here it is. And that's really nice. It's really beautiful energy. So there's a couple of other things that it behooves me to talk about. That Mercury retrograde, as I mentioned, not ideal for signing contracts, but if you need to, certainly not ideal for purchasing new technology, as Aquarius governs new technology. Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, I would really wait if you can, especially because Venus is involved and Jupiter. The likelihood that you could overpay, or pay for something and it's just not what, it doesn't work the way you thought it would at this time, is extremely high. And likewise, the reality is, look, if your computer breaks and you have to have one in order to function and meet with people and run a business or make money or buy groceries, you got to trust that this is whatever's happening is, what's meant to be happening in your life at this point. One of my favorite astrology teachers, Nadia Shah, says you have to trust your life. If things are happening at a time when astrologically it's just not great for those kinds of things to unfold, you have to trust that there is some wisdom in the movement of your life unfolding in that way at this time, that there's likely a lesson to learn in certain ways through following the path as it's unfolding. The other thing about this is, what else did I want to say? Change, right? So much of what we're going to be seeing from people in the coming weeks, we've already been seeing it in the last 6 weeks, is people's response to transformation and change, people's response to not having stability outside and not having stability to grasp onto inside. And this is something really important to understand because it would be very easy to trivialize some of the headlines that we're seeing um, in the news or some of the behaviors that you're seeing from the people around you. What do we do when faced with high levels of uncertainty, which is what we have going on right now? The levels of change, and because that's what Aquarius represents, are so high at this particular moment. Some of what we're seeing unfold is how people respond to that. What is their knee jerk reaction to change? Do they grip? Do they hold on and try to control? Do they pretend it's not going on, look the other way, ignore it? Do they get triggered and lash out? Do they binge watch, binge eat, get involved with addictions to try and feel some level of safety or security or predictability inside of high frequency change? So notice for yourself what happened and what is happening for you. I do want to acknowledge that this energy can be exceptionally unsettling, because it's essentially, I don't know if you've ever been on a boat, um, and the boat starts to rock, but you're not near something you can hold on to, and the boat is rocking, and internally you feel very unsteady. This is kind of what this energy represents. And it'll be with us for a little while longer as Venus and Mercury make their way through the sign of Aquarius. So just know that, some of what you're seeing is going to be people's knee jerk response to change. Some of it's not going to be pretty. Try to have some compassion for yourself, for them. Take extra space, extra time, especially when you're like in transit, traveling, or, in public spaces. Give extra space, give extra time, because there's just so much chaos energy in the air that there's, going to be a need for some people like yourself, a late worker, to have a calm mind and a steady sense of self, even though there's so much transformation energy in the air. So, there's a lot of stuff up with Chiron. I'm going to come to that next. There's also some interesting stuff up with Neptune, and I'm going to do that after. The one other thing that it feels really important to mention, because there's so much change energy in the air, this is why I had Carrie from True Insight join us for a special preview of their meditation last week. You can find the video on my channel, How to Protect and Grow Your Spiritual Gifts with True Insight Meditation Center. True Insight Meditation Center is the meditation center I joined back in 2017. And it completely transformed my life, opened up my gifts, opened up my clairvoyance, and even further opened up my clairaudience. There are other people who have other gifts that have opened up for them. But because much of this energy, again, there's a lot of divine energy hitting Earth right now, and it is going to feel like electricity for the sensitive, the highly sensitive, the empaths, those of you with gifts that are starting to come online. A lot of Kundalini energy can show up here as well. It's going to be really, really important to get yourself to a place where you can be centered and grounded in yourself. So check out that meditation, see if it's right for you. It's definitely free here on the channel, but they have a 5-week course you can enroll in if you're aligned with it and wanting to go deeper. I believe they start on February 28th and then they enroll throughout the year. I can't recommend it enough. True Insight is basically Hogwarts for people with spiritual gifts. So I highly recommend you jump on that, especially if you're struggling with stability during this time and internal stability. Also, the reading calendar is open for the beginning of March. And if you'd like to book a reading, you can. There are a small handful of half-hour sessions left in February. If you want to grab one of those, you can. Otherwise, we're booking into the beginning of March. Those first 2 weeks are available to book now. The Chiron energy is interesting because it really does highlight why why we're seeing some of the more, not unsavory, but why we're seeing some more of the wounded responses to change. Why are we seeing some people do change in a way that is just so like harmful to self or harmful to others? Like, what's up with that? And that's Chiron's influence. Chiron's playing a really big role during this particular new moon and has been the last couple of lunations. But let's see, here's Chiron here in the sign of the self, exposing all of our wounds about who we are as a person. Do you have wounding around being a woman? Do you have wounding around being a man? Do you have wounding around having brown hair? Do you have wounding around having curly hair? Do you have wounding around being black, being Asian, being whatever? The wounding about being inescapably who you are is going to start to continue. Well, let me put it a different way. Going to continue to be very loud. And this particular lunation, what's coming up with it is Chiron in sextile to Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. So there's that sextile for my star schoolers, 60-degree angle. Then we have Chiron opposite Make. Here's Make, 7 degrees Libra. Lastly, we have Chiron square Pholus. And here is Pholus right there inside of Capricorn. Oh, it's not the easiest energy, right? And it's funny because it almost makes a K like Chiron. Chiron really represents our ever wound and the place where we have that wounding, we've sustained it, and it doesn't heal. It's with us in an ongoing kind of way. Chiron also represents the teacher, one of the teachers and the benevolent teachers at that, as Chiron was a teacher to some of the men, I would say Greek men. They weren't other gods. They were men, half gods, half men, some of them inside the Greek mythologies. The Chiron energy as teacher lends itself to us learning, raising our consciousness so that we can better understand what's happening and why it's happening. It represents coming to a higher level of awareness in terms of our philosophy and our thinking about things going on around us. The wounded part of the Chiron story and the Chiron energy has to do with self-sacrifice and really recognizing where it is that, we've been wounded and are willing to sacrifice so that others, don't have to lose something as well. With Chiron speaking here to all of that lovely, lovey-dovey energy over here in Aquarius, as you're entering into new connections and new commitments, new romantic relationships, even new business partnerships for some of you, there's a real sensitivity at this time to the wounds and baggage we're bringing with us from the past. There's a real recognizing of what those things are. And because Mercury is in retrograde over this energy here, this is a brilliant time to take a risk in your vulnerability to open up and share transparently, honestly, openly, leave nothing out. Tell them everything about where you've come from in terms of your pain and your heart and where you are. This is an opportunity, when done, will actually deepen and strengthen the bond during this particular period of time and facilitate healing at this particular time. The vulnerability and transparency has gives you the chance to be seen, heard, validated, and also gives you that opportunity to grow with the other person. The fullest energy here speaks to, because this is a square, where we've been kind of collateral damage in the wrong place at the wrong time, falling prey to someone else's issues. Because fullness is highlighted in this square and will be for a while longer, um, you can look around at life and just kind of see, like, yeah, I didn't, is the, was it Billy Joel? We didn't start the fire. Like, this is kind of feeling of like, yeah, I didn't start this fire, but I'm definitely caught up in it. There's that kind of energy here. And so, what Chiron is bringing to the circumstance around it is a recognition that, yeah, maybe you didn't create this, but you're definitely living in it. And there, it has cost you dearly. There have been sacrifices that you've had to make as a result of this. Your life will never be the same. Chiron was never the same after he sustained his wound. Um, and simultaneously, there is still something yet we can give to others in the wake of this wounding. And lastly, this energy with the shaman's asteroid Make Make that Chiron is providing in opposition has a lot to do with just getting to the place of recognizing how much you've grown, how much you have sacrificed, and really recognizing where the line is, where some of the boundaries are, and how to move into meditation and clarity about what it is you've learned and where your new boundaries are at. The Make Make energy opposing Chiron, or Chiron opposing it, also lends itself to really recognizing how some of the pain that you've been through is part of some of the ancestral stuff that you've just inherited. Some of this stuff, like, you were born into it, and now you're having to find your way through it and out of it. I have friends who are recognizing, like, wow, I now get it. Like, I was really born into an extremely racist family, and I have wounds around that now. And so do, people that I love. But I didn't make the family. I'm wounded by it, but it's up to me to move forward in life in a more constructive way. Other people recognizing, wow, yeah, the culture I was raised in is just one that really has a lack mentality. I was born into lack mentality. I've been wounded by it. I've held on to those beliefs, but now I'm ready to let those go and start the process of, it certainly shaped me, but it's not going to make me. I have to move into a different level of understanding, a higher level of education around this so that I'm not perpetuating my own wounding. And that's the Make Make Chiron connection. So, whatever that is, you may have a look around your life and see, like, yeah, okay, maybe you were born into an angry family and people use rage as the only emotion permitted for expression. Or, maybe you were born into a family that lacked a lot of love. People were there out of duty and obligation, and now you're finding your way to love being your guiding compass, your North Star, whatever it is. Chiron's highlighting it for you at this time so that you can make some different choices. It certainly will come with sacrifice, but it's for the greater good and for your good as well, as you're meant to lead your family, not follow, if you're listening to me at any rate. Um, okay, so that's the Chiron energy, a super important energy here. If you want to have a look at this in your chart, just head over to my website, kmoonastro.com, book a personal reading, and we can unpack some of this for you and where this new beginning energy is happening in your chart. The last thing I want to talk about is the Vesta Neptune connection, because this is significant, really significant. There's also a partnership asteroid influence, which I'll cover, but I want to talk about these two first. Vesta represents our dedication, what we're committed to. It's like a selfless commitment of our lives to certain ideals. We have Neptune here, which is all about illusions, deception, the unseen world, but also arts and music, and some of the higher level spiritual understandings of beauty and harmony. So, the interesting thing about this with Neptune and Vesta opposing one another is this can play out in one of two ways. In the shadow, this could really be kind of a commitment to our self deceptions and delusions, a real commitment to, like the facts are staring us right in the face, but yet we're still committed to something that is patently false, patently untrue, and then getting like manipulated into in our pain around it, getting manipulated by the lies. So that's one way this energy can play out. The other way that this energy can play out has a lot to do with the dissolving of commitments that no longer serve us, the releasing of vows or dedications that we have created that we've outgrown, that it's clearly time to let go of. Hopefully, all of you here are utilizing it in the latter way. But yeah, you'll find as you're moving about life, people are coming to certain clarity and certain awakening that they've told themselves stories about how things are, and now coming to clarity. Actually, things aren't really like that. That's actually not what it is. And now I'm clear. So it's a useful energy when used correctly. We're all going to continue to be in a lot of ways under the Neptune influence as Neptune squares the nodes for the better part of this year. And it's a challenging and tricky energy because the nodes really represent our direction. North node, what we're growing towards, south node, moving and growing away from, and what we've been through. The Neptune energy makes knowing the direction or the path really unclear, and it requires a full surrender to releasing control. It requires that we have a strong connection to God within and God without so that we can surrender to what the divine is bringing to us and through us as our appropriate path. Because there's so many question marks and unknowns with Neptunian energy squaring the nodes, you may find that the first 3 months of this year, you're working on this business. Only for the next 6 months, you're working on a completely different business idea and concept. Only for the final 3 months of the year, somebody hired you to do a job. Like it's that kind of, we're being asked to lean into the uncertainty and surrender at levels we've never seen before, and have trust and faith, and to do good works and be of service in the process. So it is a really beautiful energy, but I just want to acknowledge how confusing it can be. And again, reiterate how important it is to, as you're witnessing people work through their confusion, have compassion, have, how, and not, oh, poor soul, they'll figure it out. Like true compassion that somebody ended up here and it wasn't on an accident. They really are struggling to find their way to truth. So, okay, that's there. And the thing that it's important about the contact that partnership asteroid is making with Neptune at this time via a hard square. The thing that's important about this has to do with, unfortunately, deceptions in connection, deceptions in relationship. Um, yeah, falsehoods. It's really about falsehoods. So, during the Mercury retrograde period, some of these things may come out, things that you didn't know in your existing partnership. This isn't really new partnerships because new partnerships are really kind of governed under the other energy with Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury, and Saturn. But the existing partnerships, this could be a period of time where you start to find out things about your business partner, or start to look at things in a more comprehensive way for yourself in your marriage, and start to go, okay, I see how there have been falsehoods here. I'm ready to look them in the eye for what they are, so that I can have a new beginning by having some new conversations. That's all of that energy in Aquarius, some new awareness, some new agreements with my person. So if that's happening for you, just the main thing to do is to be in communication, talk, reveal, share, ask questions, be in conversation, don't shut down, turn toward one another. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that, because some of that, I definitely see some of that here, unfortunately. Um, the other way that that could play out is just having a deep spiritual dedication to your connection at this time in such a way that, um, it can almost feel like reality is challenging your faith. And this is a moment in time where you're going to need to figure out, um, how to walk in reality and yet and still maintain faith that what's real right now could always become better in the future. Okay. So that's all the energies for this new moon in Aquarius. It's a thrilling time. It's an exciting time. Hopefully, you're able to utilize all of these in a way that's of higher service to both you and your loved ones at this time as well. You don't have to get into a relationship, but there's definitely great relationship energy here. If you've been looking for it, there's certainly opportunity, some of the best energy we've had for it in a long time. So, all my love to you guys. Happy Valentine's Day. And I look forward to seeing you at the next lunation. Take great care and bye for now.